I want to let other people know that whatever their circumstances are in life, that they can overcome them. I'm not trying to like create a dream life for people, or create an illusion that like the way to fight your circumstances is to be delusional, because it's not. But it is to be inspired, or to acknowledge, or to dream that there's more to life, that other people are experiencing, not your circumstances. That there's like more, your circumstances are your circumstances, but there's more outside of your circumstances. So essentially your circumstances are the limitations other people give you, and you can either settle for them and say, yes, these are my limitations, or you can say, there's more to this. There's more to this. And so I'm just gonna share you my story, and hopefully it will inspire others to think, I don't know, differently about their circumstances and how they can potentially overcome them. I used to be a Russian orphan. I was found on the streets in Russia at the age of like 3 to 4 years old. And then I was actually adopted when I was like 7 or 8. My first birthday was technically when I was 9 in America. And I was found on the streets by a police officer, so I didn't know any English at all. Or from what I got from the documentation the police officer made, what I said was incomprehensible. So I assume I got very little education. From those circumstances, I was basically told by orphanage was like really, really rough for me, and essentially anyone that has gone through an orphanage, because I also have 3 siblings who have gone through orphanages, different age groups. One was when she was 13 when she was actually adopted, so she was longer in the system. And then I had a brother who was adopted with me at infancy. But for me, I was adopted when I was 7, but I still experienced very traumatic experiences, because I believe I was extremely isolated, because I was told I was mentally retarded. The Russian doctor was very dedicated in believing I was mentally retarded. The Russian judges were very dedicated in believing I was mentally retarded. My own adoptive father kept confirming the story of like, oh, you were mentally retarded and you like broke the system, you're a I don't know, you're a miracle because you're not. I have an education, I have a bachelor's in English, and all my parents expected of me was to work in McDonald's for the rest of my life. Like, they didn't really expect much from me. Basically all my life, the only person who has believed in me, who has pushed against the standards of what other people have told me I am or am not, is myself. Like, I've had literal English teachers in high school tell me like, oh, are you sure you basically are capable of taking this AP class? And it is embarrassing for the ego, because you constantly have to like fight against the system and feel like you're lesser than. But it's that in some aspects the lesser than is what led me to fighting and trying to prove other people wrong, and that like I can do this and blah blah. I think my main experience that really like pushed the boundaries of my circumstances is the fact that I was basically always emotionally, verbally abused in the orphanage. I remember like all the ladies that were in control or whatever, they always like would laugh at me, or they would name call me. I would be called stupid when I was adopted. All the other girls like kind of looked at me very meanly and were like, well, why was she adopted? She should be the last person to be adopted. So I felt very lucky when I was adopted, but I also felt a lot of shame because it was like, why me? I was given all the circumstances to not get adopted. I was literally labeled by everyone as mentally retarded. I was labeled mentally retarded. I mean, literally everything was against me. And it's interesting to see that through my trials and tribulations, I was able to win over. And I remember this one experience I had when we were supposed to be brushing leaves outside of the orphanage. I mean, there was a fence obviously, and because everyone thought of me as mentally retarded, and I think to survive the orphanage I kind of played on the idea, because I realized if I proved I was a lot smarter than what everyone thought I was or labeled me as, my circumstances, then by playing on the limitations of other people, I could actually get more of what I want and more of what I want to do, which is to be left alone. Because if I was left, I played their game of, oh yeah, I'm mentally retarded, then they would leave me alone a lot more and I wouldn't get as much of the scrutiny. And that's just the reality of Russian orphanages. I remember this one moment when everyone was like brushing leaves outside, and I was looking out the fence, and I was thinking, like, I remember feeling really sad and kind of just like down, and just like thinking, is this it? Is this it? Like, is this it? Is this all I'm supposed to experience in this life? And then looking outside, and even though I only saw trees, I remember thinking no, like saying no. I was given circumstances, and then looking those circumstances in the face and being like, no, I'm meant to experience more. I know there's more. I know there's more buildings outside of these trees. And it's not like I was saying no to like a higher power, or I was saying no to an individual. I was just like, in my mind I was like, no, there has to be more. There has to be more than this. And then I remember shortly after that I was adopted. Not to say that my adoption story or being adopted was like a piece of cake, and that I still didn't experience trauma and unhealthy influences from my own adoption parents' attachments. I did get a roof over my head. I did get a lot more than I would have gotten if I stayed in the orphanage and was never adopted. My past is a reminder that there's always more to life. There's always the potential to seek out more. There's a potential to experience more, and that you can accept the circumstances that you're given in your life, or you can look at the circumstances dead in the face and believe there's actually something else. There's something more, and you don't have to know what that is. You can just say no to the fence you are given, the circumstances, to people telling you this is what your potential is, and you can reach out for more. You can do the work so the English teacher in the class sees your potential, and then they recommend you actually take AP English. And even if a principal of your school is like, oh, are you sure? Because they're looking at your records and that's the only AP class you're taking, and you're taking all these, like, you're not very good at math, so you're taking these like low-level math, so they assume like you're dumb, and they constantly ask you many times like, well, are you sure? It's gonna be really hard. This is the hardest teacher ever. It's crazy how the student has to be the one who fights for expanding themselves versus the adult, the teacher, the principal, the guidance officer that's like, it's great that you want to expand your knowledge, you want to challenge yourself. That's the system we are in. You are given set boundaries. You're limited. You can look at those limitations and tell yourself, no, there has to be more than this. I believe that life will then show you circumstances where it will show you, where it will prove to you outside of your circumstances, outside of the wonder of everyone else, of the belief of everyone else, of like, why her? Why does she get adopted? Because she's mentally retarded and she's worth nothing. She's meaningless. She's dumb. But she's the one that's given a chance to withstand her circumstances. Yeah, I will say it's luck, because there's no other reason why I was adopted. And it could be just by circumstance that I was adopted, and it doesn't mean anything at all. But the fact is that I feel that my life has proved that no matter where you are, there's always more. You can either just accept your limitations, or you can challenge your limitations and really push your limitations of what you think your limitations are, and then you will create new limitations, and then when you challenge those limitations, that will widen your limitations, and then your fence will keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, and your world will expand and expand and expand.